Hello, my name is Stephen Knight. This session is about using Outlook as a time management tool. Now, what we're going to be looking at is more efficient processing of your email. We're going to be doing this in two parts. Part one is about when you receive a message. We're working from the principle that when you receive a message, it's the starting point for some sort of work. So an email message might lead you to have to read something or call something or prepare a document. It might lead you to organise a meeting or an appointment. It might lead you to want to take that email, capture the information into it to turn the sender's details into a contact. Or receiving an email would lead you to a task. Okay, these are real world things that we have to do with our email. Email leads to work. So part two of the process is having a look at organising and finding your email, which this is a big thing that people have trouble with. Is I spend too long searching for my email, hear it on courses all the time. So we're going to have a look at organising and finding your email. We'll have a look at three tools here: rules, quick steps and search folders. Now there's more you can do, but if you know those three, you'll find organising and finding your messages is going to be a lot easier. So that's the two main steps. One is processing email as they arrive, and the second step is organising and finding your email. Now just the third thing I'm going to mention just in the intro, because we're talking time management, okay? We're talking using Outlook for more efficiently managing our time. Time management's actually a fairly broad topic. There is a very good book I can recommend called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. You'll find it as an Audible book, so it's on Audible, it's available as an audio book, or you can get it in Dead Tree if you prefer a traditional book. Now, just a couple of things why I'm mentioning Eat That Frog is a lot of time management books are written from the perspective of that you, the reader, are in a major corporation, you're in a management role, and they talk a lot about delegating, about more efficient delegating. Now, for a lot of us, this isn't the real world. For a lot of us, you are, like I am, a contractor. So I'm a micro business, I'm a trainer, I provide services to people. I don't have somebody to delegate to, so I need to look at other strategies and techniques. And even within large organisations, often you're running your own little section of the organisation or your own role. Again, you're a self-contained unit. You can't necessarily delegate to anybody, so you need to look at other tools. So Eat That Frog revises and runs you through a lot of the basic time management concepts, and also introduces you to the whole Eat That Frog thing, which as a metaphor really worked for me. I'm not going to explain Eat That Frog, you should go and have a listen to the book, but I think for those of you that are a standalone unit, either as a small business or within a larger organisation, it's worth having a listen to, or as I said, have a read if you prefer paper. So let's have a look, let's get into Outlook and processing our messages. In part one of our Outlook time management tutorial, we're going to have a look at efficiently processing our messages. So we'll start with a message comes in, we need to ring someone, we need to read something, we need to review it. We can't do it right now. How do we get Outlook to tell us, remind us to do this tomorrow or later this afternoon? So what we're going to do is right click on the message, come down to follow up. Now you've probably used the follow up flag before, but we can go a little bit further here and add a reminder. So we're going to add a reminder, and as well as being reminded to follow up, we are going to set a reminder to call, because we've got to ring this person. So we've got a message from Susan here, an urgent message, so we're going to call, but you'll notice there's a wide range of possibilities there, including no response necessary. Wouldn't you like to get one of those? Let's go call and we're going to set this that we're going to have to call this person tomorrow. 4 o'clock is a bit late for the reminder. I want to get a reminder at 11 o'clock. And if you're synchronizing with a smartphone, Windows Phone, iPhone, Android, then Outlook will synchronize the reminders and your smartphone will have the reminder as well. So that's set the flag. The reminder message that we'll get here in the desktop Outlook is the standard reminder dialogue that you get to remind you of meetings and tasks and so on. Now, because that's done, let's imagine it's now tomorrow. I can mark it as complete because we've spoken to Susan. Susan has said, look, can we organise to come and see her? So that's what we're going to do. So what we would do for part 2 of this, you need to turn it into an appointment or a meeting because we've got to see this person. So what we're going to do here is we are going to drag this email down to here onto the calendar icon. Now, if you're using an earlier version of Outlook, this is Outlook 2013, all of what we're doing works in Outlook 07 and Outlook 2010, and I think even as far back as Outlook 03, where instead of having these arranged horizontally, you've got a little grey panel on the bottom left-hand corner where they're arranged vertically. And so it's the same process. You would drag the message, drop it on the calendar icon, and there it is. This has turned this into an appointment for us. We can enter the location. We have the ability to invite other people if we need to turn it into a meeting. We can turn it into a link meeting, all the things that you would normally do. You can set your reminder to suit. What's particularly nice about this is it's actually soaked up the content of the email and made that the content of the appointment, so that we've got the context there if we need to know what that's about. So what we'll do is we've decided to do this for Thursday, and we'll do it a little bit earlier in the day, so maybe at 11. So we've set that up, we've set a reminder. It's just a conventional appointment. It could become a meeting if we need it to. Save and close. That's now in our calendar. Okay, that's now in our calendar. We're going to go and have a look. So we're looking now in Dan Matthews' calendar, and here on Thursday is our appointment. Okay, so we can get things into the calendar from our Outlook very, very easily from our mail items. Now let's have a look at other things we might need to do with this message. As a result of our meeting with Susan, we've realised that Susan's going to be an ongoing client, and we'd like to capture her contact details and put her in our contact, which again, with your modern smartphone, your contact information should come across from Outlook via Exchange into your modern smartphone, so that you've got your contacts out in the field. Now, a lot of people don't use their contacts to full value because it's a lot of work to recreate them. So let's have a look at how we can do this and make it really, really easy. So what I'm going to do here is grab my message from Susan, drag and drop this down onto people. Now, in earlier versions of Outlook, this is contacts that you're dropping it on. I'm dropping it on people. You'll recognise here, even if you're using an earlier version of Outlook, that this has opened up the contact record. It's captured the email address for us. There it is there, of Susan. And we've also captured the original message. So again, we've got that bit of context. What's also nice here is if Susan's got a signature, like most people have now, is we can copy information from her signature across into the contact record, so that we can very easily translate information across here. So we've got a company name, so I could copy that and stick that up there. And if in the real world this contact, there'd be a job title, you could paste the job title in, complete the information as required. In all versions of the Outlook contact form going back to at least 2003 and probably before, you can change these phone numbers. So you'll notice this is defaulting to being a business fax, but there's a drop-down list here where it allows me to indicate that that's a different sort of a number. So rather, this might be the number for the assistant. So I can put different phone numbers in here to or reclassify the phone numbers, would be a better way to describe that. So I can reclassify the phone numbers to store 4 different numbers of whatever it is I might need. So it makes that very, very easy for us to do. So the basic process, drag and drop the message onto people or contacts, fill in the details, and away you go. Now don't forget there's additional information. This is the general screen. There's also the details screen where you can store departments and offices and what profession, their manager, their offsider. If you've got a contract due for renewal, you could use the anniversary date there. For the gentleman who might be listening to this, you can put your spouse or other half, you can create a contact for them, and you can put birthdays and anniversaries in here, and Outlook will remind you. Okay, so you can set an anniversary date, and we will eventually save this, and Outlook will remind you. Similarly for birthdays, I'm assuming you don't need to put your spouse's name in here. Okay, so if we save that, we've now set up in our contacts information for this particular person, so that it's now available. If we synchronize with our smartphone, we get all of that information. And if I go across to people, there is Susan there. Now, because this is 2013, I get some nice options over here. I get a clickable email address, a link for scheduling a meeting, and I can do various other things over here if I need to, if I've got Skype and a video camera, which I do have. Now, what we can also do here is, in earlier versions of Outlook, you can right-click on your contact, come down to create, you can invite them to a meeting, you can assign them a task, you can forward a contact to a colleague, so we can share all of this information. Very, very easy, very, very nice. So that's cut your workload down. Instead of having to create a new contact, retype all that stuff, just drag it and drop it onto people, or if you're on an earlier version of Outlook, onto contacts. Now, for our next topic here, we have to do a job for Susan. We've got a task to do. Now, this is a bit more involved perhaps than just having our reminder that we said earlier. Might take us a week or two to do. So what we're going to do here is take our email that's starting the whole process, drag it and drop it onto tasks, and it opens the new task form. So what we can do now is we can set a start date for that, and tomorrow is always a good start date, so let's put tomorrow in as a start date, and a due date where it might be due by the 1st of March. The status is it's not started, but you've got your various statuses, your priorities. I can set a reminder. Now, probably being reminded at the last minute is probably, tempting fate a little bit too much. So earlier in the week, I'll get a reminder. We've got room here, we can put in additional notes, and we've also got all of our email message, so we've got the context again of what we've been asked to do. We can save that and close it, and so now that's here in our Dan's tasks, and that's a task for us to do. So in summary, to process our messages quickly, we're going to use reminders. We're going to drag and drop messages to turn them into appointments, to turn them into contacts, and to turn them into tasks. Now, the part 2 is going to be having a look at rules, going to be having a look at quick parts and search folders. Just a very quick run through so that we can more easily organise and find our messages. So if you've had trouble finding and organising your messages, stay around for part 2. And now a quick word from our sponsor. And welcome back for part 2, organising your messages. Now what we're going to do here is just a very quick look at rules, quick parts and search folders. 3 useful tools just to help find and organise our work. So we've got our incoming message here from Susan. We could just drag and drop this to a folder, but we'd like to automatically process things and automatically route this to a folder. So what I'm going to do here is come up to Rules. Now, in older versions of Outlook, under the Tools menu, you'll find Rules. Okay, so it's there, been there since the year dot. So I'm going to create a rule, and I can set up some criteria. Now these are standard ones that are available to me, where I can set up and say if the subject contains a certain phrase or anything from Susan. If I want to go further, I can go to my advanced options. Now, those of you with older versions of Outlook will recognise this when you go to Tools, Rules and Alerts. This is where you'll wind up, where we get a wide range of options here where we can set up some rules to say, look, when certain words appear, now I'll show you one of these where certain words appear in the body or in the message header, or if I come down a little bit further, you'll notice there's a range of possibilities here just to pick up the different triggers that might indicate that something's a particular message. So now we've got here, it said, look, let's pick this up with urgent problem to solve as the phrase in the subject or body. I can actually tweak that. If I come down here into the bottom section, I can click where it says urgent problem to solve, or in earlier versions of Outlook, this will just say specific words. I can click here, I can remove those words, and I could just say, look, anything mentioning urgent problem. And the idea with this is you can then add that and then go through and create a series of alternative phrases that you want picked up. Then if I go OK, and then so we've said now what's the factor, what's the criteria that indicates this is a message we want it to automatically process, and it's the phrase urgent problem. Now if I then go next, it says, right, what do you want to do with this? And I could delete it, but let's be serious. We want to move it to the specified folder. Oh, just a little cautionary note. People often think, oh, joke, 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 if I get a message from Fred, I'll set it to permanently delete. It's not kidding. If you tick that box, you'll never see your messages from Fred again. So that could be a bit of an overreaction, so just be careful with that. I'm going to move it to a specified folder, but you'll notice there's a whole range of possibilities here. I can specify the folder, and if I open up my inbox, I've got a folder there called Sales Team Demo, or I could create a new folder, which is what I'm going to do, and I'll call this new folder Urgent Problems. I could also create a new folder called Non-Urgent Problems, but nobody seems to give me any of those, so we'll just go with Urgent Problems. Let's go OK. So what this is going to do is move it to the Urgent Problems folder. But you'll notice we could forward it to somebody, we could do all sorts of things with it, we could mark it as important, we could play sounds and whatever we need to do. I'm now going to go next. We can have some exceptions which might say except if it comes from the boss, or except if it mentions some other phrase. I'm going to go next. Now, so that's the name of our rule. I can run this rule on messages I've already got, which means it'll look in the inbox for Dan Matthews, and anything that mentions urgent problem that we've gotten in the past will get moved into this folder as well. Let's finish. And we're done. Now, if I have a look over here in urgent problems now, you'll notice it automatically collected that message and moved it in there because I said run it on any existing messages. Now, from this point forward, if anybody else sends Dan a message saying urgent problem, it's automatically going to go into that folder. No need to be touched by a human hand at all. So that's very, very efficient. It does have some downsides in that it's not discriminating. Okay, the next tool I'm going to show you does the same process, but it's not fully automatic, which means you get to choose which messages go into particular folders. Now, this feature we're looking at is the Quick Steps feature. So you'll see we've got a Quick Steps set of tools here. Now, for our Office 03 people, you can go and have a coffee now. This is not available for you, okay? So in the Quick Steps, I've got an option here to create new. I'm going to create a new Quick Step, and I'm going to call this Move to Sales Demo Folder. And you can see at this point that I don't make my living as a typist. Now, we can have a series of actions here, so you can do simple workflows with this. So my action for this is going to be move this to a folder, but I'm just going to give you a quick tour in that you could move something to a folder and you could then automatically create an appointment, or you could automatically create a task with the text of the message as the task. Now, this is one that people, I do know, have used this, where certain types of customer inquiries, they move them to a folder and get it to immediately create a task that they can set a due date on. So that, again, nothing falls between the cracks if you've got to respond to something by a certain, maybe a legislated performance criteria. So let's move to a folder, and I get to pick my folder, and this will be the Sales Team Demo folder. Now, if I had an additional action like creating a task, I could set that up now. I am not going to be that clever for this one. We'll just say move this to a folder. I can assign a keyboard shortcut to this and put in some tooltip text which just describes what this is actually doing for us. So my keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift that again. There we go. Now, have Team Demo folder. There's all of my messages. Okay. So just to recap, to use our newly created Quick Step, I'm going to select the messages that I want to move. So I get to control this, unlike a rule which just says this message meets the criteria, I'm moving it. Okay. So I'll go up to my Sales Team Demo Quick Step, click on that. The first time you run that, it will just ask you to confirm the settings. If I now go to my Sales Team Demo folder, there's my selected messages. So that's just another technique for managing your messages. In a moment, we'll search using. Alrighty, last topic, because I know I've imposed on people's time for 25 minutes at this point. Last topic is search folders. So bear with me, very, very useful. works on Outlook versions going way back. So you'll see on the left here I've got my list of folders, and lo and behold there's search folders. Now to create a new search folder, I just right click, choose new search folder. I have an assortment of criteria to set up, and I might just say, look, I want to view through my search folder mail from a specific person. Now what this will do is, it doesn't matter what actual folder the message is in, this will show me mail from a specific person in the search folder. So it's like a virtual window, doesn't care if something's been misfiled. I'll just choose my person here, so I'm just looking for mail from Susan Hilton, and I'm going to search for mail in Dan Matthews. If you share accounts with other people, or you're a delegate for somebody, you can search other folders. If I then go OK, what I'm seeing here in my search folders is mail from Susan Hilton. Now this hasn't moved any messages. They're still in the inbox in this case, and in the urgent problems folder, but it's showing me the messages regardless of where they are. And as you saw there, you can set up some more extensive criteria. So thank you for your interest. I'm hoping you found this little half-hour tutorial quite useful. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it, and I'm hoping you got some benefit. So thank you very much.